What makes someone risk it all to escape the inescapable? Throughout history, the drive to break free from captivity has sparked some of the most daring and ingenious feats of human ingenuity. From masterful deception to sheer determination, these stories of audacious prison escapes capture the essence of resilience. In this countdown of the world's greatest prison escapees, we delve into the tales of individuals who defied all odds, outsmarted their captors, and etched their names into history. Our journey begins with the story of a man whose life inspired an iconic Hollywood film, proof that sometimes the line between reality and fiction is razor thin. 1. Frank Abagnale Jr. Frank Abagnale Jr. wasn't just any con artist. He was a master manipulator who lived several lives before even turning 21. By the time of his arrest in the late 1960s, Frank had already posed as a Pan Am pilot, a doctor, and even a Harvard-educated lawyer, duping individuals and corporations across continents. His charm, wit, and knack for blending in made him a nightmare for law enforcement agencies trying to pin him down. However, his cunning didn't end when he was finally caught. It was only the beginning. After being arrested in France and extradited to the United States, Frank was placed in a federal detention center. Unlike many escape stories that involve brute force or years of planning, Frank's was built entirely on his extraordinary ability to read people and manipulate situations. He noticed a critical weakness within the prison system: the staff's lack of familiarity with their own chain of command. Frank, ever the opportunist, hatched a plan to exploit this confusion. One day, posing as an undercover prison inspector, a role he invented, Frank convinced the guards that he was there to evaluate the facility's protocols. His calm demeanor and convincing backstory made it easy for the staff to believe his claim. They even provided him with access to the prison's restricted areas, treating him as though he held a position of authority. Frank walked out of the facility in plain sight, blending into the outside world before anyone realized what had happened. The sheer boldness of his escape stunned everyone. What made Frank's escape truly remarkable wasn't just the act itself, but the way he leveraged psychology over physicality. He didn't need to tunnel through walls, overpower guards, or orchestrate an elaborate heist. Instead, he played on assumptions and the human tendency to trust apparent authority. His ability to think on his feet and exude confidence turned what seemed like an impossible feat into a reality. After his escape, Frank continued his life of deception, though he would eventually be captured again. However, his story didn't end there. Recognizing his unparalleled skills, the FBI offered him a deal: work with them to help catch other con artists and prevent financial fraud. Frank went on to become one of the FBI's most valuable consultants, revolutionizing the way the agency tackled white-collar crime. Frank Abagnale Jr.'s life and escape remain legendary, so much so that his story inspired the hit movie Catch Me If You Can. His tale serves as a reminder that intelligence and confidence, when combined with audacity, can overcome even the most seemingly insurmountable barriers. As Frank faded into the shadows after his escape, another figure on a completely different continent was plotting his own break to freedom. This next story would involve a feat of engineering so extraordinary that it would expose corruption at the highest levels of his country's prison system. 2. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. While Frank Abagnale Jr.'s escape relied on psychological cunning, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's escapes showcased engineering brilliance and an audacity that stunned the world. Known as the head of the Sinaloa cartel, one of Mexico's most powerful drug organizations, El Chapo was infamous not just for his criminal empire, but also for his ability to evade justice repeatedly. His escapes revealed not only his resourcefulness, but also the deep-rooted corruption within Mexico's prison system. El Chapo's first major escape came in 2001 from the Puente Grande maximum security prison. His plan was simple but effective. Using his influence and the cartel's financial power, he bribed guards to smuggle him out. Hidden in a laundry cart, he was wheeled out of the prison, bypassing checkpoints and leaving the facility unnoticed. This escape, while shocking, paled in comparison to the event that would cement his reputation as the Tunnel King. After being recaptured in 2014 and imprisoned in Altiplano, another maximum security facility, El Chapo faced stricter conditions. Authorities believed that the prison's high-tech monitoring systems and isolation protocols would prevent any possibility of escape. However, they underestimated El Chapo's ingenuity and the reach of his cartel. In 2015, less than 2 years into his sentence, El Chapo executed a breathtaking escape. Beneath his cell's shower stall, a mile-long tunnel had been painstakingly dug by his associates. The tunnel was no ordinary escape route. It was equipped with lighting, ventilation, and even a motorcycle rigged to rails for quick transportation. The planning and resources required for such a feat were staggering, revealing the lengths to which his organization was willing to go. On the night of his escape, surveillance cameras showed El Chapo pacing in his cell before disappearing into the tunnel. By the time authorities realized what had happened, he was long gone, emerging in a construction site outside the prison's perimeter. His escape triggered a massive manhunt and widespread outrage, as it underscored the vulnerabilities of even the most secure prisons. El Chapo's freedom was short-lived. He was recaptured in 2016 and extradited to the United States, where he now serves a life sentence in an American supermax prison. Despite his final capture, his escapes remain legendary, symbolizing not just his cunning but also the systemic flaws in the institutions meant to contain him. As we leave behind El Chapo's high-tech ingenuity, we turn to a tale of sheer determination and collective effort, a story of resilience born from the horrors of war. 3. The Great Escape. During World War II, the German prison camp Stalag Luft III became the stage for one of the most audacious mass escapes in history. Known as the Great Escape, this meticulously planned operation wasn't just about freedom. It was a defiant statement against Nazi oppression. It symbolized the indomitable spirit of Allied soldiers who refused to accept captivity. The prisoners, primarily British and Commonwealth airmen, were held in a camp designed to be escape-proof. The Nazis built the facility with raised barracks to prevent tunneling and placed microphones in the ground to detect any subterranean activity. Despite these measures, the prisoners were undeterred. They began planning their escape in 1943, focusing on 3 tunnels named Tom, Dick, and Harry. The operation was nothing short of extraordinary. Over 600 prisoners participated in the planning, dividing tasks among digging, disposing of dirt, and crafting disguises. They used improvised tools fashioned from bedboards and cans and concealed their work with ingenious methods, such as hiding tunnel entrances under stoves or inside bunk beds. On the night of March 24, 1944, 76 prisoners attempted their escape through the tunnel named Harry. Crawling through the narrow 30-foot-deep passage, they emerged beyond the camp's fences under cover of darkness. The operation was a partial success, as only 3 escapees managed to evade recapture entirely. Tragically, 50 prisoners who were recaptured were executed by the Gestapo, a grim reminder of the risks involved. Despite the losses, the escape was a morale booster for the Allied forces and showcased the ingenuity and courage of those involved. The event inspired the famous 1963 film The Great Escape, immortalizing the story for generations to come. As we leave the courageous airmen of Stalag Luft III, we move to another legendary escape, one that involved raincoats, dummy heads, and a prison that was thought to be impenetrable. 4. The Alcatraz Escapees. Nestled on a rocky island in San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary was long believed to be inescapable. Its cold waters, strong currents, and stringent security measures earned it the nickname The Rock. For decades, it was considered the most secure prison in the United States, housing some of the country's most notorious criminals, including Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly. Yet in June 1962, 3 men, Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin, challenged that reputation and became part of one of the most fascinating prison escape mysteries of all time. Frank Morris, known for his sharp intellect and strategic thinking, was the mastermind behind the escape plan. Together with the Anglin brothers, he spent months preparing for their breakout. The trio's plan was intricate and relied on a combination of creativity, teamwork, and sheer determination. Using ordinary items like spoons and a homemade drill crafted from a vacuum cleaner motor, Morris and the Anglins painstakingly chiseled away at the ventilation grates in their cells, creating holes just large enough to squeeze through. To avoid detection, They cleverly concealed their progress with cardboard and paint, ensuring guards wouldn't notice the modifications during routine inspections. One of their most ingenious tactics involved crafting decoy heads to fool the guards during nightly bed checks. Using a mix of soap, concrete dust, and paper, they fashioned lifelike dummy heads, complete with human hair collected from the prison barbershop. The dummy heads were so realistic that guards didn't notice anything was amiss until the following morning, by which time the trio was long gone. The most daring aspect of the escape was their journey through the frigid waters of San Francisco Bay. To navigate these treacherous currents, the men constructed a makeshift raft and life vests out of raincoats, painstakingly stitching and sealing them to ensure they would be watertight. Their resourcefulness and determination were evident in every detail of the escape. On the night of June 11, 1962, Morris and the Anglins put their plan into action. They climbed through the holes in their cells, crawled through utility corridors, and emerged onto the roof. From there, they descended to the ground and launched their makeshift raft into the bay, vanishing into the night. Despite an extensive manhunt and years of investigation, no conclusive evidence of their fate was ever found. While some believe they drowned in the icy waters, others speculate they reached freedom and lived out their lives in secrecy. The FBI officially closed the case in 1979, but occasional leads and alleged sightings continue to fuel speculation. The escape from Alcatraz remains one of the most enduring mysteries in American history, inspiring books, films, and endless theories. It's a story that blends audacity, ingenuity, and a tantalizing question. Did they make it? As the mystery of Alcatraz lingers, we move to another astonishing escape, a daring helicopter rescue that pushed the limits of audacity. 5. Pascal Paillet. Pascal Paillet's escapes weren't just bold, they were cinematic. This French criminal, convicted of murder and armed robbery, orchestrated multiple helicopter-assisted prison breaks that stunned authorities and captivated the public. His ability to defy imprisonment earned him the nickname the helicopter hijacker and made him one of Europe's most notorious escapees. Paillet's first helicopter escape took place in 2001, while he was serving a lengthy sentence at Luynes prison in southern France. Demonstrating meticulous planning and coordination, he and an accomplice hijacked a helicopter and forced the pilot to land in the prison yard. Under the watchful eyes of stunned guards, Paillet climbed aboard and made his daring escape. The event was so audacious that it immediately made headlines across the world. However, this wasn't Paillet's only brush with freedom. In 2003, after spending 2 years in hiding, Paillet was recaptured and returned to custody. But even behind bars, his influence remained strong. In 2005, while still incarcerated, Paillet masterminded another helicopter escape, not for himself, but for 3 fellow inmates at the same prison. Using his network on the outside, he arranged for another helicopter to be hijacked and flown into the prison yard. The operation was executed with military precision, further embarrassing French authorities and earning Paillet a reputation as an escape artist par excellence. In 2007, Paillet pulled off his most spectacular feat yet. Despite being moved to a high-security facility designed to prevent any possibility of escape, he once again orchestrated a daring helicopter rescue. His associates hijacked another helicopter, forced it to land in the prison yard, and whisked Paillet away under the noses of the guards. The sheer audacity of this escape left authorities in disbelief. Following this third escape, Paillet became one of France's most wanted fugitives. Authorities launched an extensive manhunt, eventually capturing him later that year. This time they took no chances, implementing extreme measures to ensure he could never escape again. Paillet was placed in solitary confinement, and his location was frequently changed to keep him isolated from potential collaborators. Pascal Paillet's story highlights the evolving challenges of prison security in the modern era. His escapes weren't just about brute force or clever disguises. They demonstrated meticulous planning, technical expertise, and a willingness to exploit weaknesses in the system. Though his criminal career eventually ended in confinement, his legacy as the helicopter hijacker remains an unforgettable chapter in the history of prison escapes. As we leave behind Paillet's airborne exploits, our journey takes us to a tale of relentless resilience in wartime Japan, a story that redefines the limits of human determination. 6. Yoshi Shiratori. In the history of prison escapes, few names are as legendary as Yoshi Shiratori. Known as the Prison Break King in Japan, Shiratori's story isn't just about breaking free, it's about resilience, defiance, and an indomitable will to survive. Over the course of his life, Shiratori escaped from prison not once or twice, but 4 times, each time using remarkable ingenuity to outwit his captors. Shiratori's first escape occurred in 1936 when he was sentenced to Aomori prison for a murder he claimed he did not commit. The prison conditions were brutal and the guards were known for their harsh treatment of inmates. Observing the guards' routines, Shiratori devised a daring plan. One night, under the cover of darkness, he used a metal strip from a bucket to unlock his cell. Timing his escape perfectly to align with a shift change, he slipped past the guards and into the wilderness. While his freedom lasted only a few weeks before his recapture, this marked the beginning of his legend. In 1942, after being transferred to Akita prison, Shiratori staged another escape. This prison, thought to be escape-proof, was no match for his resourcefulness. Shiratori discovered a vulnerability in the wooden ceiling of his cell. Over weeks, he pried apart the planks using his bare hands, carefully hiding his progress from the guards. When the moment was right, he slipped through the gap and climbed to freedom. This second escape embarrassed the authorities, who increased security measures for his next imprisonment. Shiratori's third and most famous escape occurred in 1944 from Abashiri Prison, located in the harsh northern region of Hokkaido. Known for its impenetrable cells and frigid conditions, Abashiri was a fortress. But even there, Shiratori found a way out. Locked in a reinforced cell, he studied the locks and hinges for weaknesses. Using a piece of wire he had smuggled in, he managed to pick the lock and escape into the freezing night. The sub-zero temperatures and treacherous terrain didn't deter him, and he survived by scavenging and avoiding capture. His fourth and final escape in 1947 was a masterstroke of patience and ingenuity. Held in Sapporo prison, Shiratori noticed that the guards frequently served miso soup with his meals. Over time, he used the soup's salt to weaken the iron bars of his cell. When the bars were pliable enough, he bent them and slipped out, achieving his final breakout. In the years that followed, Shiratori turned himself in, exhausted from years on the run. Public sentiment had shifted in his favor and his sentence was reduced. His story has since become a symbol of human resilience and a critique of the harsh prison conditions of the time. Today, his legacy lives on in Japanese folklore, inspiring books, movies, and countless retellings. As Shiratori's saga ends, we move to another tale of bravery and ingenuity, a daring escape from England's infamous Tower of London. 7. John Gerrard. The Tower of London stands as one of history's most formidable fortresses. For centuries, it was a symbol of England's unyielding power, a place where traitors and dissidents languished, often never to emerge. Yet in 1597, John Gerrard, a Jesuit priest imprisoned during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, achieved the unthinkable. His daring escape from the tower remains one of the most remarkable stories of the Elizabethan era. John Gerrard was no ordinary prisoner. As a Catholic priest operating in Protestant England, Gerrard was accused of treason for his missionary work. Arrested in 1594, he endured years of imprisonment and torture. Interrogators used every method at their disposal to extract confessions and names of his allies, but Gerrard refused to betray his faith or his companions. His resilience in the face of relentless suffering earned him admiration among his supporters and fear among his enemies. Gerrard's escape began with a smuggled message. Using orange juice as invisible ink, he wrote secret notes to his allies outside the tower, describing his location and the conditions of his confinement. These notes were instrumental in orchestrating his escape plan. His accomplices arranged for a rope to be smuggled into the tower, hidden in a package disguised as supplies. On the night of October 4th, 1597, Gerrard made his move. Guards escorted him to the Salt Tower for routine questioning, unaware that the moment would mark the beginning of his audacious breakout. After questioning, Gerrard slipped away from his escort and retrieved the smuggled rope. His allies waited below with a boat ready to ferry him across the Thames to safety. The escape itself was perilous. Gerrard's cell was high above the tower's moat, requiring him to rappel down the fortress walls. His hands, raw and blistered from torture, struggled to grip the rope. At one point, he nearly lost his hold, but his determination carried him through. Once he reached the ground, he sprinted to the waiting boat and was whisked away under the cover of darkness. Gerard's escape sent shockwaves through England. Authorities were baffled by how a man under such heavy surveillance could manage to flee the tower. For Gerard, the escape was not just a personal victory, but a statement of defiance against the persecution of Catholics. He continued his missionary work in secret, evading capture for several more years before finally fleeing to Europe. Gerard's memoirs, written later in life, offer a vivid account of his imprisonment and escape. His story stands as a testament to the power of faith, resilience, and the human will to overcome insurmountable odds. As we leave behind the shadowy walls of the Tower of London, our journey takes us to the chaos of the American Civil War, where ingenuity and solidarity led to one of the largest escapes in U.S. history. 8. The Libby Prison Break. During the American Civil War, Libby Prison in Richmond, Virginia, earned its infamy as one of the harshest facilities for Union prisoners of war. This converted tobacco warehouse was overcrowded, unsanitary, and devoid of basic necessities, leaving the inmates to endure unimaginable hardships. Yet, amid the despair, Colonel Thomas Rose and his comrades engineered one of the most daring and successful prison escapes in U.S. history. Libby Prison was notorious for its high mortality rate due to disease and malnutrition, and its reputation as inescapable added to the prisoners' despair. Guards patrolled constantly, and escape attempts were met with severe punishment. Despite the daunting odds, Rose began plotting an escape in January 1864. His plan hinged on exploiting the prison's underground layout. The facility's basement, known as Rat Hell, was a dark, damp area filled with sewage and vermin, a place most guards avoided. With the help of fellow inmates, Rose initiated a bold tunneling operation. Using crude tools such as spoons, pocket knives, and their bare hands, the prisoners worked tirelessly to dig a tunnel from the basement to the outside. The conditions were appalling, with prisoners navigating through filth and enduring the stench of decay. To dispose of the dirt, they filled their pockets and discreetly scattered it around the prison yard during exercise periods. The tunnel took 17 days to complete and stretched over 50 feet, leading to a tobacco warehouse outside the prison walls. On the night of February 9, 1864, the plan was put into action. One by one, 109 prisoners crawled through the narrow tunnel, emerging into the cold Richmond night. From there, the men scattered, some heading north toward Union lines, while others sought refuge among sympathetic locals. The escape was fraught with danger. Confederate patrols swarmed the area, and the men had to rely on their wits and sheer luck to evade capture. Of the 109 escapees, 59 successfully reached Union territory, making it one of the largest and most successful prison breaks of the Civil War. The Libby prison escape was not just a logistical triumph, it was a symbolic victory. For the Union, it represented the resilience and ingenuity of their soldiers, lifting morale during a challenging period of the war. For the Confederacy, it was a humiliating breach of security, forcing them to rethink their prison operations. Today, the Libby prison escape stands as a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity. It showcases the power of unity and determination, even in the darkest of circumstances. As we leave the tunnels of Libby Prison, our journey takes us to the H-blocks of Maze Prison in Northern Ireland, where a politically charged escape unfolded amidst the turmoil of the Troubles. 9. The Maze Prison Escape. Maze Prison, also known as Long Kesh, was designed to hold the most dangerous prisoners during Northern Ireland's Troubles, a period marked by sectarian violence and political unrest. As the primary facility for housing members of the Irish Republican Army, IRA, it was fortified with the strictest security measures. Yet, in 1983, 38 IRA prisoners executed one of the most audacious escapes in modern history, an event that highlighted the political and military stakes of the time. The escape was masterminded by senior IRA members, including Bobby Story, who meticulously coordinated every detail. The plan began months in advance, involving smuggled weapons, careful observation of guard routines, and rehearsals to ensure precision. The operation's complexity reflected not only the prisoners' ingenuity, but also their determination to strike a blow against what they saw as an oppressive system. On the morning of September 25, 1983, the plan was set in motion. Using smuggled handguns and knives, the prisoners took over H Block 7, capturing the guards and holding them hostage. To prevent communication with other parts of the prison, they disabled the block's internal systems, cutting off phones and alarms. The level of organization was astonishing, as each prisoner played a specific role in the operation. With the guards subdued, the escapees moved to the next phase, seizing a food delivery truck. The truck was vital for breaching the prison's heavily guarded perimeter. The prisoners disguised themselves in guards' uniforms to avoid suspicion, using the truck as their getaway vehicle. The escape wasn't without challenges. As the truck approached the gates, an alarm was raised, leading to chaos and a violent confrontation. Some prisoners were recaptured during the commotion, but 38 managed to breach the perimeter and scatter into the surrounding countryside. The aftermath of the Maze escape was chaotic. British forces launched a massive manhunt, deploying soldiers, helicopters, and roadblocks to track down the fugitives. Over time, many were recaptured, but several escapees managed to flee across the border to the Republic of Ireland or even further abroad, where they continued their activities within the IRA. For the IRA, the escape was a propaganda victory, symbolizing their resistance and ability to outwit British authorities. For the British government, it was a major embarrassment, exposing vulnerabilities in what was supposed to be one of the most secure prisons in the world. The incident also deepened the political divide, fueling tensions in an already volatile region. The Maze escape remains a landmark event in the history of the Troubles, illustrating the intersection of politics, security, and human ingenuity. It stands as a testament to the lengths individuals will go to for their cause, even at immense personal risk. As we leave the high walls of Maze Prison, our journey reaches its climax with one of the most meticulously planned and controversial escapes in history. 10. The Great Escape. No list of remarkable prison escapes would be complete without the legendary Great Escape from Stalag Luft III. Set against the backdrop of World War II, this daring breakout wasn't just a fight for freedom. It was a defiant act of resistance against the Nazi regime. Orchestrated by Allied prisoners of war, POWs, primarily British and Commonwealth airmen, the escape became a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and the unyielding human spirit. Stalag Luft III was a German POW camp located in Sagan, now Żagań, Poland. Built in 1942, the camp was specifically designed to be escape-proof. The Germans raised the barracks off the ground to prevent tunneling, installed seismograph microphones to detect digging, and heavily patrolled the perimeter. Despite these measures, the POWs, many of whom were trained in engineering and other technical fields, began planning their escape almost immediately. The plan, conceived by squadron leader Roger Bushell, was ambitious. Instead of one tunnel, the POWs decided to dig 3 simultaneously, codenamed Tom, Dick, and Harry. This strategy ensured that if one tunnel was discovered, the others would remain hidden. The tunnels were dug 30 feet below the surface to avoid detection, with supports made from bed slats and ventilation systems ingeniously crafted from discarded materials. Dirt from the tunnels was concealed in the prisoners' trousers and discreetly scattered around the camp during exercise periods. The escape operation involved over 600 prisoners working in shifts to dig, construct disguises, forge documents, and gather supplies. The sheer scale of the operation was astonishing, with each participant risking severe punishment if caught. After months of grueling work, the tunnel Harry was finally completed in March 1944. On the night of March 24, 1944, the escape began. One by one, 76 prisoners crawled through the tunnel, emerging outside the camp's fences into a nearby forest. The operation was nearly flawless, but a sudden discovery by a guard brought it to a halt before all 200 planned escapees could make it out. What followed was a massive manhunt by the Gestapo and Wehrmacht, resulting in the recapture of most of the escapees. Tragically, of the 76 who escaped, only 3 managed to reach freedom. The remaining prisoners were captured, and 50 of them were executed on direct orders from Adolf Hitler, an act that violated the Geneva Convention and shocked the world. Despite its tragic outcome, The Great Escape remains a symbol of extraordinary bravery and resilience. It showcased the POW's refusal to give up hope or submit to their captors, even under the harshest conditions. The event inspired the famous 1963 film The Great Escape, immortalizing the story and its heroes for generations to come. As we conclude this journey through history's greatest prison escapes, we're reminded of the power of determination and the lengths individuals will go to achieve freedom, even in the face of insurmountable odds. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.